Hello there and welcome back to another episode of Don't Call Me Skinny. You can tell I'm in my office, which means I will probably sneeze in about 3.4 seconds because that tends to be what happens. Oh, I got the music on today, so here we go. Got a new water bottle. I love this Awala brand. My sister has used this brand for, I don't know, maybe 2 years. I don't know. I feel like she first got it when they came out. And I love the water one where you don't have to tip it to drink. I love actually the water bottle that I've been using right now, but I have to tip it. So like if I'm driving, I literally have to tip it while I'm driving. So I have to always wait till I'm not like moving in order to take a drink of water. Maybe I should be doing that anyway. I don't fucking know, but, and I just really like that. It has this built-in straw. I wanted the bigger one. I wish they had a taller version of this. So a little bit bigger, but not wider because the wider won't fit in the cup holder, but just a little taller. It's a 24 ounce version. I just wish there was just a little bit taller version, like a 32 ounce version of this where you don't have to fucking tip, lean back and then drink your water. Anyway, so I got a brand new one. Because obviously, it's so much fun to drink water out of a newer water bottle. Duh. But anyways, I actually do really like it. So we'll see what happens. Okay. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk today about macro tracking, it being a skill, why people think this is obsessive, why people think macro tracking can lead to disorders. I haven't talked about this in a while, and I want to go into some depth here. Some pros, some cons, and I don't really know if there are cons, to be honest, but definitely some pros, why you might consider it, and how to remove the stigma away from it being such a thing, right? Like a terrible thing, like an obsessive compulsive eating disorder type of thing. And so the first thing that we have to talk about are what are macros. For those that don't know, it is how we get our calories. So if you have ever tracked your calories, which I used to do all the time back in I would say the early 2000s, I was tracking my macros. I just didn't know how that was. I didn't understand it, right? So your macros, your macronutrients, meaning big, these are the proteins, the carbs, and the fats. And this is what gets us our calorie number. So for every 1 gram of protein, it's 4 calories. For every 1 gram of carb, it's 4 calories. For every 1 gram of fat, it's 9 calories. So this is how we get this. So if you were to eat 100 grams total of, let's say, protein, that's 400 calories. 100 grams of carbs would be 400 calories. 100 grams of fats would be 900 calories. This is why I often talk about fats are very dense. They cost you a lot of calories because they're double what a protein and a carb is. A lot of times when people are like, I overeat, I don't eat that much. They don't overeat. They don't realize they're overeating, but they say things like, I don't eat that much, but then they don't realize how much a macro is for fat. And they're eating things again, like not protein. They're eating things like peanut butter or avocado or anything that has full fat, any kind of nut butter, nuts like peanuts, walnuts, all these kinds of things that are a little bit higher in fat. And oftentimes when we're over consuming food, and not realizing it's because it's typically a carb and a fat that's paired together. That's mostly what a high palatable food is. You look at most candy, it's either going to be carbs with some fat or fat with some carbs. Even your high protein Snickers bar, it's really just your fucking, there's not high protein in it. 6 grams of protein in a candy bar is not high protein. I think actually those have 12 or 14, which is not terrible, to be honest. Not much off of a protein bar. Some of them only have 16 grams of protein and call themselves a protein bar. So even though they're not. But anyways, so this is what your macros are. These are how we get your calories. And the reason I'm going over this is because somebody in group coaching is like, I don't understand this. I'm like, yeah, of course not. So the cool thing about what she has access to is I have an on-demand resource spot. So I'm able to send her to my masterclasses that I did on macronutrients, understanding how to read a label, those kinds of things, so she can read that. But I also went into her food log and I was able to show her exactly how these work and why this matters. And it's just a really cool way to be able to teach and educate and guide and coach so people can understand and learn what they're actually doing. So one of the things that I feel like is not talked about is the lack of restriction that counting your macros can have. And I remember this specifically from one person a while ago who was in group coaching. She's not in group coaching anymore. And she did really well with me. She was with me for like 8 months to a year. I can't exactly remember. And she lost, I think, like 15 pounds or so. It was very, very good. It was solid. Started strength training and that kind of thing. And for her, because she at the time was gluten-free and dairy-free, she had, she was Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, and since unfortunately has had thyroid cancer, she's now added dairy back into her diet. But she's still gluten-free, right? So when you are removing things specifically out of your diet, you're lacking in other nutrients, right? You're not getting nutrients that you're going to get from wheat and grains. You're not getting nutrients you're going to get from the dairy, a multitude of sources that you're going to get from dairy. It's a lot better now that she has dairy back in because she can eat things like Greek yogurt. She can eat cottage cheese. She can eat real cheese, those kinds of things where she can now enter in a new variety of micronutrients, meaning the small things, our vitamins, our minerals, vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin C, vitamin B, magnesium, potassium, sodium, all of these things that are the micronutrients. And so what it does is it allows us to get a bigger picture of what we're intaking. The app that I use is called Chronometer. And sometimes, depending on the client, I will remove a lot of that out so it doesn't get cluttered because it literally tracks like every fucking vitamin and mineral that you can possibly think of, plus your fiber, plus your protein, plus your carb, plus your fat, all the things, all the different kinds of fats. And so instead of doing that, I typically go off the CFP, weird, right? Consistency over perfection fitness. The CPF method, which is just focusing on calories overall, protein, and fiber. Now, if I have a person, like I've had a one-on-one client who is in excess of fat, I will give them a fat goal because we do want to reel that part in. And it's a little bit easier to see where they're at with actually tracking their fats. Okay. But anyways, back to this other client, who told me literally whenever I track my food, when I'm like tracking my macros specifically, not doing Weight Watchers, not just calorie tracking, but specific to macro tracking, she said it gives me freedom because I actually see how much I am allowed to eat, how much I can eat, right? And I think that we're always so accustomed to everything being in restriction, right? Oh, you go on a diet, you track your macros to diet, you have to do this to diet. Everything is about losing weight, getting skinny, dieting, right? And actually not understanding like tracking macros is also very beneficial if you are trying to maintain your weight or if you're trying to eat in a surplus. These things are very vital and important. And so I think that we live in a society where all we do is track macros for restriction, not realizing how much tracking macros can give people freedom. When people can see that they can eat 1,900 calories and lose weight, that is eye-opening. That is what is happening, right? I talked about this client, I think it was Monday, who came to me and she was like on a weight loss, like she was stuck at a weight. And we've been 4 or 5 months now since end of December, like basically January. So 4 months finishing up. And she has been stuck at that weight. She couldn't get out of that spot, right? Without even tracking anything specifically, right? We weren't tracking macros. We were just getting a general idea of where she's at. She was able to start seeing what she was intaking. Then we all of a sudden realized, wow, you're intaking a lot of fat. Like this is where a lot of your calories are coming from. So in her macro profile, we are tracking her fats. 1, I want to make sure she's getting in enough fat. 2, I want to make sure that we're not in excess of that. Now, our calories, because fat will equate to calories, will tell us this, but it's just an easier visual for her and for me as a coach to see, okay, your fat goal is 80, excellent. Your protein goal is 100 and whatever it is, 120, 130, awesome. Your total calories is like, I think it's 2050, perfect, live in a range, awesome, right? So then I can show, like, then it's just an easy snapshot for me to see, like, okay, Like her check-in today was her fats were on point, her calories were on point, and her protein was on point. Boom, boom, boom. Excellent. Wonderful. Great job. Right? It makes it very easy for me to see what's happening. Now, if I need to go dive in, my app allows me to dive in to see specific foods, how much is coming from where. This is how you can tell that a protein is a protein source, or a fat is a fat source, or a carb is a carb source, because it'll actually tell you what percentage of the calories are coming from that macronutrient. Now, this might not be a big deal if you already know all these things, but if you don't know what a fucking carb source is, it's going to matter. If you don't know what a protein source is, it will matter. It will help you. It will teach you. It will bring awareness to the things that you're consuming, right? So this was how we were able to figure out, what are you eating that is so high in fat? Then we can go click. She loves like the what are those Qdoba bowls or whatever, like Chipotle bowls, those kinds of things. Well, they depending on the meat, they can be higher in fat. If you get avocado, higher in fat, right? So these are the things that you have to take into consideration. But it's easy now for me to just look at this thing and go, okay, boom, right? But now she still has freedom within that, right? It's not like she has to restrict. She's just swapping some of the things that she may have eaten that are high in fat for maybe I'm going to eat something a little higher in protein instead. Doesn't mean I can't have fat. Doesn't mean fat is bad for me. And once you realize that you can get to that place, everything changes. So we're so accustomed to using macro tracking as a form of restriction, and it can be, right? But it's more so than anything, fucking data, awareness, education, skill building, right? In my opinion, macro tracking isn't a diet. It's not something that we just do to lose weight. It's something that we do to understand nutrition, portion sizes, understanding what macros are, how we get our calories. This is so much bigger than just restrict. Diet. Okay? So I have a kid homesick today, and I'm wondering if they got up because my dog. Jaden? No. Okay. Sorry about that. So it's a lot bigger than this, right? This is also when I'm talking about this awareness, it's like, oh, I eat really clean. And that's what she told me. She's like, man, I eat a lot of whole foods. And she did. She did eat a lot of whole foods, but she ate a lot of whole foods that were high in fat. And then we also saw a little bit more of like, well, we're also a little bit heavy on the cookies and the candy and the things. And those aren't big things, but they add up, right? So it's like a lot of people that come to me, it's like, I can't lose weight. I eat really clean. Okay, well, once we start putting it into the tracker, we're going to see just how clean, quote unquote, you eat. And it just brings awareness. How we think and feel about that at that point is the game changer. If we can look at that objectively, just like we were to look at maybe a spreadsheet of numbers for something, and if I were to take away the fact that it's food and I were just to give you these numbers, you could probably objectively go, oh, I need to be within this range and these are the numbers, like I have to change XYZ, right? That being said, we don't do that. We put a lot of guilt and shame around that space, right? So that is also part of the coaching element. It's like, sure, again, like you can go do this. And I'm going to tell the majority of you, if you could have done it, you already would have done it. Okay. This is why though people have coaches. It's for accountability. It's to make sure that you can do that, because I was able to instead of looking at this woman going, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, I can't believe you eat cookies and candy. Like, ugh. I think my dogs are playing outside now. Outside my office. So it's like, instead of looking at her and making her feel terrible, it's like, now we have this data. Well, you don't have to feel bad about the data. Now how do we just started like slowly adjusting the data? Like, what do you feel like if you were to take one thing and make a swap, what would be doable for you? Right. And now we are looking at her logs, and her logs are significantly different. Her meal sizes are much larger, way more high in protein. Her snacks are better. And we don't have like 400 calories between cookies and candy and things like that. That's just a reality. But it's a because of this, then this. And we can't have it. Like, because we're over consuming food, we are not going to lose weight. We are not in a calorie deficit. If you don't know what you don't know, then you don't know. Like, that's just the bottom line. Being super honest. I always talk about my one of my most favorite clients, not all of my clients are my favorite. But her vulnerability when we started working together to track literally every fucking thing that she put in her mouth was wild. She would, oh my God, she would eat crumble cookies. And she would eat a whole crumble cookie, or she would go out for dinner and she would go out for dinner and then she'd eat a crumble cookie. And she's putting all this in her tracker. And some of those days that tracker got to like almost 3,000 calories. And she could have looked internally and been like, oh my God, I'm a terrible person. No wonder XYZ is happening to me. I'm a horrible person. This is why I'm this way, blah, blah. Nope. The first thing, how do I change this? What do I need to do? What can we do to fix this? How do I build this differently? That's exactly what she did, right? It's a skill she had to learn, okay? Which our macros are. Learning how to track your food is a fucking skill. You're not going to be good at it. It's not always going to be easy. That's why I rarely have my people go, here, hit this number, this number, this number, this number, this number, this number. No, like let's just put some food in a tracker. Let's just open up the app every fucking day and track your food. See what happens. See where we're at. Maybe we don't need to make as many adjustments as what we think we do. Maybe we're way off in fucking left field. Hey, cool. We know how to change that. So it's like adding in one thing at a time, but it is a skill. It's a skill. And the bigger part and the bigger problem of learning this skill and why macros is different than points and all the things, you can manipulate that shit to do whatever you need it to do. That's the fun part about like the macro part itself. And I don't mean manipulate it to get things to go in your favor. What I mean by that is it's like, okay, I can manipulate it and gain weight. Like I could manipulate my macros to give me, above my TDEE, and I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to see that, and it's going to reflect in my tracker, and it's going to reflect on the scale and reflect in my photos and reflect in my measurements. And I can manipulate it that way. I can manipulate my carbs. I can manipulate my fats if I have to. What I really focus on with most of my clients is calories, fiber, protein. Calories, protein, fiber, in that order. That is what I think is the most important things. Now, if I have a client like this particular client where we are also kind of paying attention to those fats, cool. That's fine. If I have a type 2, I might put their carbohydrates up there. I might have them. We might do that snapshot of the carbohydrate so I can see what's going on. It is pouring. I think it's hailing. That is awesome because my back door is open. So that's wonderful. I love that for me. So that we, for a type 2 diabetic, I might have them track their carbohydrates. I used to have everybody track everything. Still, we would implement it very slowly, but it used to be hit this number, hit this number, hit this number. Again, that comes along with my own damn education, my own like priority of focus. Like, okay, as long as we're within calories and protein and we're eating some fiber, so we poop every day, we're going to be solid. Like we should get the results. Okay. And it's like, if I have to manipulate a different number somewhere else down the road, great. Or if it's important in one particular client's story, awesome. I will put it in there. That's okay. I can do that. So it's understanding how to utilize this. And at the end of the day, all of this more so comes down to how you think and how you feel about the food that you put in your mouth. It doesn't matter if you're tracking your macros, your points, your calories, your little soy food that you eat every day, all the stuff. How do you feel about what you're doing? How do you think about what you're doing? How do you feel about yourself when you're doing it? Because you could eat chicken, broccoli, and rice every day, but if you feel like absolute dog shit about it and you hate life, that's not helpful. Your journey sucks and you're going to quit. Right? But also on the flip side of that, if you're only eating and indulging all the time or falling off every weekend or unable to be consistent with shit, well, that's also going to be a problem. You're going to hate your life. You're also going to fucking fall off. So you got to find that middle place. And macros is kind of that middle ground where it's like utilizing this shit just specifically only as data. Just it. That's it. Just data. Feedback. Right? You have a car gives you feedback. If lights start dinging on the car, you take it into the wherever dealership or wherever you take. I don't know why the name is missing in my brain right now. You take it into a car shop, right? Okay, cool. They're going to diagnostic test that car. It's flashing a little fucking code at them. They're going to plug the thingy in and they're going to figure out what is the code. The code's going to come back and say, oh, your alternator's shit. Your battery's dead. Your anti-lock brake system's not working. Whatever the case is, your ignition switch is broke. Your whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Cool. Great. Awesome. This sensor's broke. That sensor's wrong. Guys, the sensors that we have on our body, low energy, fatigue, brain fog, feeling like absolute shit, having no fucking energy. Your mood is trash. Your digestion is shit. You're on fucking medication. Guys, those are your like, hello, fucking warning signals. Are you just going to keep driving your car around? You do your body. You just keep doing that. You don't pay any fucking attention, right? If we had the data to go back to say, okay, this is what we're doing, then we can shift and adjust as we need to. Right? Macros allows us to be super fucking flexible. And it's kind of how you move into that intuitiveness that everybody wants to fucking be at. Sorry, I love all you to death, but the majority of you don't know what a portion of fucking shit is. How do you know what a portion of anything is? It's how we get to this place to begin with. You're like, oh, I'm just eating a tablespoon of peanut butter. Fucking liar. You ate half the jar. Just because you got half the jar out on 1 tablespoon of peanut butter doesn't mean it's 1 tablespoon. Or you like, oh, because this is where people get like their whole like, well, it's obsessive because you have to track everything that you put in your mouth. Yes, you do need to track so you understand, because when you don't track your food, then you don't know what you're putting in your mouth. This is where the BLTs come into play, bites, licks, and tastes, right? My kids made they made cookies on Sunday. Well, I had to put in like 2 chocolate chip cookies that I didn't eat, but I ate them raw. I'm like, okay, it's about 2 chocolate chip cookies probably that I ate. Cool. had to track it. How many of you don't do that? How many of you lick a beater? You don't track it. How many of you take a bite of your kid's food? You don't track it. Finish what's on the kid's plate. You don't track it. Well, that's calories, and that shit adds up over the course of the week, right? So it's like understanding like, yes, you do need to weigh your food. Yes, you should be weighing in grams. Sorry. Hate to be the other bubble burster here for that. But yes, and this is where people are like, but that's so obsessive. No, what is obsessive is your inability to not be able to track just a range of calories and come within plus or minus X amount for your grams and your like that's when it becomes obsessive. When you start getting angry at yourself, when you start having feelings towards things, that's the obsessive part. But that has nothing to do with the macros themselves. Right? That's a you problem. The macros themselves, they're inanimate, right? Some of you might hate this analogy, but it's like just like a gun, right? The gun doesn't do anything. The person behind the gun, how they think and feel about what they're doing with that thing, that's what affects what happens with it. It's no different. These poor macros are just hanging out in food, and you're the one manipulating them or not tracking them. And then you feel bad about them, or you feel like you have to get exact. Oh my God, I got to be perfect. You don't. Literally my whole business. You don't have to get perfect with it. That is not a fucking requirement. And there, again, it's always going to be that fine line. You're going to ride that line of like, am I being fully honest, or am I being too much? Am I being a little too, right? Macros are going to show you exactly what you either want to see or what you don't want to see. And how you think and feel about that, that is on you to figure out. That is on you to change if you don't like it. Right? I always say in this process, that's a lot of this process's problem. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes the fact that it's a you problem at the end of the day. Nobody likes that, right? I was just talking with my lovely friend Jetta. I love Jetta. I'm hoping to get her on the podcast before she moves to Romania. But we were talking about it the other day, right? And of course, some lady got all up in my shit about a GLP-1 on TikTok and a comment that I made, which she didn't actually watch my original video, which pisses me off even more, but whatever. Because that is kind of what I want to talk about, our GLP-1s. It's coming. It's totally coming. But anyway, so essentially, it's like our body naturally makes GLP-1 in the gut, right? So, but this lady is like, yeah, but not everybody produces the same amount of GLP-1. Okay, but why? Why is that the case? Why would somebody's body stop actually doing that? Why would somebody's body shut off their hunger hormone cues? Why would somebody's body end up with an autoimmune disease like a thyroid dysfunction, type 2 diabetic, arthritis? I'm trying to think of the big ones that people talk about, or like IBS, these kinds of things. Why do we end up that way? We don't start that way. We're not born that way. And yes, you can have a genetic predisposition, right? If you have parents that are type 2 diabetic, can you be more predispositioned to get diabetes? Absolutely. Does that mean you're going to? No, it doesn't. Right? Just because your mom has a thyroid condition doesn't mean you're going to have a thyroid condition. And just because she doesn't mean you won't either. Right? Let's be honest. But what the point I'm trying to make here is that we have a really hard time looking inward and going, I did that. I did it. I did that to myself. We want to put the blame on everybody else and point the finger out somewhere else. And the reality is if you have gut problems, it's because you've done that. Whatever it means, however you got there, you did it very unknowingly. That's the problem. We don't realize it. It's all just starting to come to light. But that was what we were talking about. Why? Why does somebody's body not produce GLP-1? Why do we have so much food noise? Why do we have no hunger cues? Why do we binge eat? You guys, it's all internal shit. We did it to ourselves. I got myself to 250 pounds. Nobody got me there. Not my ex-husband, not my mom's sickness, not my disastrous move home, not my fat and happy marriage. You want to know who did it? I did. I continued to put the food in my mouth. I continued to have a lack of movement or a lack of care for myself, a lack of priority. I did it. I did it to myself. That is the problem. We have to be able to look inward. What macros allows us to do is have this objective view if we can look at it objectively. If we can go, okay, now I have this data. Now what do I do? It'd be looking at your bank account, same concept. Your credit score, same concept. Okay, I have this data. Now what the fuck do I do with it all? How do I fix my credit score? Well, it's certainly not by going and applying for more credit cards and maxing them out. But yet that's what we do in our health. It's like, oh, just ignore the problem. Ignoring the problem doesn't help either. That's what I used to love to do with finances. I just ignore shit. Like, that bill's not real. It's not real. Okay. Okay, Sarah, it's real. It's actually fucking real. Like, ignoring shit doesn't help the problem. But at the end of the day, who put our bank account into that situation? We did. I did. We did. You did it to yourself. Now you got to figure out how you're going to get yourself out. And the data is going to speak for itself. This is where you're at. This is how you got to get there. These are your bills. This is what you got coming in. You either got to get another job. You got to fucking pay something off. You got to sell something. Like, you got to figure it out. You're going to have to figure it out. You can't ignore it, because you ignore it long enough. Guess what? The collectors come. They come for you, right? They're going to come. Well, guess what? The collectors are your body's little lights going off, like we talked about in the car. They're alerts. They're your type 2. They're your autoimmunes. They're your thyroid. It's your gut health. You're overweight. That's your alarm. And you just like, I don't want to hear it. I can't see it. Macros gives us this objective view that we don't have, that we are able then to manipulate and control so it works for us. So I understand that some people might come at me and they're gonna be like, wow, this is a really mean episode. I love all of you. I know that it's hard to rip that Band-Aid off and to have to look yourself in the face and say, yeah, I did this to myself, but that's the reality of it. Macros is a tool that allows you to look at data objectively, taking your emotions out and say, okay, how do I fix this now? How do I stop ignoring the problem and start doing something about it? If you spend your energy that you spend ignoring shit and trying to get around shit, trying to do all the fad diet shit, the quick fixes shit, and just fucking started doing this and started tracking the food that you put in your body, whole world of difference. Whole fucking world of difference. That is my rant. So if you're looking to get that consistency, weird, right? Got a challenge for that coming up. I'd love to have you in there. We start, I think when this airs, it starts the next day, May 1st. So tomorrow. I would love to have you in there. If you're having a really hard time putting that mirror up to yourself, this is the thing for you. If you're if you're the person that says, I know what to do, I just need to do it, that you should already fucking be in. You should already fucking click now. Done. Period. You should already be there. Also, if you're just a person that's like, man, I just really love accountability. Excellent. Join. Like, that's who it's for. It's for anybody looking to get better. Anybody looking to get consistent. There is nothing special. There is nothing going to be like, whoa, that's going on in there. It's literally learning how to show up for yourself fucking day in, day out, no matter what, regardless. And if it sucks one day, it just means you're going to get up and you're going to try the fuck again. And that's all it's about. That is how we play the game. Okay. So click the link in the show notes. I will see you in there. Let's get this ruthlessly consistent challenge kicked off, and I will check you on the flip side.